Let's start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to AI Atelier Orgnal webinar. And this talks about how to build trustworthy AI. My name is Manish, and I'm delighted to serve as your host for today's session. At AI Atelier, our mission is to explore how AI impacts society, focusing not just on our technological innovation, but also on ethical, social, and cultural implications. Today's webinar is a key part of that journey and we are excited to share our work with all of you. Now I'll hand over to Lutfia, our team member, for briefing us about the AI Atelier Lab. Over to you, Lutfia.
Yeah, hi, my name is Itfia, and today I'm gonna be your co-host. So, what is AI Atelier? AI Atelier empowers learners with accessible and practical AI education, equipping students and professionals to confidently apply AI concept with modern tools. Our research spans projects such as video restoration, which revives damaged footage, and the ethics of generative AI, where we explore challenges like deepfake, copyright, and moderation. Beyond education and research, we foster community through an active Discord space, interactive workshops, and events that encourage collaboration and responsible AI practices. So, talking more about our research, we have two areas of research we're into. The first one, it explores using generative AI to restore and enhance degraded videos and audios. We focus on dash cam footage, fixing glare, shadows, and obstructions, and on an older films and TV recordings, improving resolution, cleaning artifacts, and restoring audio. The ultimate goal is to make AI powered restoration accessible for both archived purposes and contemporary use. Our second research area examines the ethical challenges posed by AI generated or modified video content. We focus on issues such as copyright, non consensual media, and the tension between content moderation and freedom of expression. This ensures that as we develop AI tools, we also consider responsible usage. In addition to our core research, we maintain a variety of blogs on our website that cover different AI related innovations. This include topics like Gemini AI, Canva AI, and other emerging tools in generative AI, creative applications, and data driven technologies. The blogs provide insights into how these tools are being used in real world scenarios, their potential applications, and ongoing development in the field. They serve as a research for both researchers and enthusiasts interested in staying up to date with the latest AI advancements. Also, two members of our lab, Mirage and Nathan, have been working on course development around generative AI. Mirage created a full course on generative AI for data science, where he designed the outline scripts and assessments. The course is structured into short 5 to 6 videos, some featuring screen shares and other presented as talking head segments by Professor Razer. The materials follow a consistent format with folders for outline scripts and assessments that make the content easy to follow. Meanwhile, Nathan has been working on a course that explores the concept of vibe coding, an approach to coding with the assistance of generative AI. His course explains what generative AI is, introduces the idea of vibe coding, and shares practical tips on how to use it effectively. Together, their work showcase different but completely applications of generative AI in coding and data science while maintaining a clear and structured course design. So, meet the team of the webinar that worked for the webinar to happen today. This workshop was created through the efforts of our dedicated team. Our main speaker is Professor Rezer, an AI scientist and professor. The project was managed by Manish Bhatia, who also served as today's host and contributed to the slides and analytics. And me, Litvia Yusupova, a second year computer science student at Drexel Universities, I worked on slides, design, and research. Amar Trong, a third year software engineering student at Drexel, he set up the website, and Joseph Lewis, a third year computer science student, supported the YouTube setup. You can learn more about the rest of the team on our website. Now, I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna introduce you to our main speaker, Professor Reza.
All right, thank you both, Manish and Lutfia. Thank you for the introduction. I am very glad to have everyone here live and also say hi to everyone who will see this video later offline. Um, I'm glad that also in the past couple of slides, we could go over a little bit of introduction to our um, most recent members of the lab. I am very proud of every single person who contributed to the entire project of AI Atelier. It's kind of my personal project, and I'm glad that I have students who are also have the same interest in the field of AI and computer science. So to start the conversation, I want you to think about one question, and that question is: if in one sentence you were to say, what do you think when you hear trustworthy AI? So if you are online and you can communicate with us in the chat, we will see the messages that you send. I'll give you 30 seconds. In the meantime, I want to tell you a little bit more about the lab. So we started this lab 6 months ago with some of the co-op students who joined me at Drexel University. And the idea was to create a space for doing both research and content creation. So what we are doing at AI Atelier is to explore new AI tools, toolkits, technologies, algorithms, basically anything that we are curious about, and we publish content. We do research on certain topics, as Lucia went over those two topics that we're mainly focusing on. But we also explore many different tools related to AI. So hopefully after this live, you will check out our website. There are a lot of blog posts. Also on the same YouTube channel, there are many videos that the same students had created. So I encourage you to check them out. I think they're very informative and you find them useful. All right, so we don't have any questions about, or we don't have any answers to the questions. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you a little bit of background about what do we actually mean by trustworthy AI. So trustworthy AI refers to artificial intelligence that has four main features. These four main features, we can categorize them as being fair, being transparent, reliable, and also respecting the user's privacy. So throughout this presentation, I will go over each of them, and I will also talk about the framework that I worked on during my PhD thesis to help us build more trustworthy and also trust adaptive AI agents. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to start with what is AI ethics and its core principles. And then we go over some real world applications. I also talk about my most recent book that I co-authored with 5 other amazing co-authors. So this book is called AI for Community. It's talking about how we can use AI to preserve cultures and empower communities rather than standardizing cultures and deleting communities. After that, I'll get into my chapter specifically. I'll talk about trust in AI and different types of trust that exist and how to build a framework that helps us build trustworthy AI systems. And at the end, we go over some use cases of trustworthy AI. And again, I just want to remind you that if you have any questions, you can leave your questions in the chat. One of our team members will collect them, and at the end of the presentation, I will go over the questions and answer them. All right, so let's talk about what is AI ethics. AI ethics is the set of moral principles to guide AI development and use. So what do we mean? This topic of AI ethics, is the study and practice of how artificial intelligence should be designed, developed, and used in ways that align with human values and moral principles. We hear that there are a lot of negative talk around AI, and a lot of people think that it's going to replace their jobs or it's going to be used for immoral purposes. So it's very important to understand, to just like first of all have a good understanding of what do we mean when we talk about ethics in AI. So this topic focuses on making sure that AI is fair, responsible, transparent, and beneficial to the society and not the other way around. And we also want to make sure that the AI systems that we're building, they're not causing any harm, and we try our best to avoid any bias or misuse of these new tools. So let's get back to those four core principles of ethics, especially in terms of like computer science and artificial intelligence that I mentioned. So they are fairness, transparency, accountability, and privacy. Let's get into each of them separately. With fairness, basically, we want to avoid bias and discrimination. The idea is that AI systems must provide equal treatment and opportunities to all individuals. This means avoiding hidden biases in data or algorithms that could unfairly impact certain groups, for example, rejecting qualified candidates due to gender or race. Using these fairness measures helps us to make sure that our systems are inclusive. I want to give you an example of this fairness. Let's say we are building an AI system based on the loan approval data from a bank for the last 100 years. So if you want to take all of that into account, obviously, like the data that we have from the 100 years, it's going to be heavily biased toward certain demographics, and also it's going to be biased against some other demographics. So the AI itself is not that it is trying to be racist or is trying to be discriminatory. It's just that based on the data that we fed the system, it's going to be biased toward a certain demographics. So it's very important to understand the type of data that we are feeding to our AI systems for training. The other aspect of ethical AI is transparency. It means that AI shouldn't be a black box for people. Right now, we see like anything that people don't understand, especially in social media, they just say, oh, it's AI. And this can be very dangerous because, first of all, it can twist the reality. Many things that could be real, but just maybe look a little odd. A lot of people may dismiss it completely, just saying it's AI. And also, a lot of the things that could be generated by AI, people may believe them. So having that transparency is very important to kind of like educate people on how these AI systems work. If you have worked with chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude or any other chatbots, especially if they have like any kind of like thinking mode that they show you the reasoning, the steps that they take in order to come to a decision, that's an example of transparency. We don't necessarily know how the algorithm works, but at least we can see the logical steps that it's taking in order to give us an answer. So that is adding an extra layer of transparency, giving us some idea about how this system is working. The next one is accountability. With AI, we are automating a lot of tasks. And in that case, we really need to be very clear about who is responsible for the output of these kind of AI systems. We had, and we still have these conversations around self-driving cars. So if a mistake happens, whose fault is it? Is it the driver's fault? Is it the car manufacturer's fault? Is it the government's fault for not regulating it enough? Or is it the car itself? We don't know. We have to have a solid framework for understanding the accountability when something goes wrong. Other things that I can mention is like for organizations or developers who take ownerships of these kind of AI systems, they should provide redress for negative impacts and also create safeguards to prevent misuse and also have some form of accountability, especially human-based accountability if something goes wrong. Whenever we're trying to use AI for automating any kind of task, we also need to have some human supervision there. And if something goes wrong, our users should be able to talk to a real human about the problem that occurred. And the last one is privacy. So right now, with these strong AI models, there is a very huge need for data to train like more powerful AI models. And because of that need, a lot of companies are not very considerate of users' privacy and personal data. The important thing to note here is that trustworthy AI should respect and should protect sensitive data related to actual people. This can include following strict data protection rules, minimizing unnecessary data collection, and securing information from misuse or breaches. In general, if we want our users to feel like we have a trustworthy and ethical AI systems, they should feel confident that their personal information is safe. So now let's move on to some real world examples. So the examples that I provided, you can just look them up. There are news articles related to each of these. So the first one is facial recognition in public spaces. So what happened is that Home Depot, there was a lawsuit against Home Depot because they were collecting non-consensual biometric use of people's faces. So they had these auto payment devices, and they were recording people's faces, but they didn't know that this footage is being actually stored and Home Depot is using them. So there was a class action lawsuit that was filed in Illinois on August 1st, 2025. It was just recently, like a couple of months ago. For allegedly employing facial recognition at self-checkout stations without informing customers or obtaining their consent. This actually did violate the state's Biometric Information Privacy Act. And this lack of transparency around data retention and destruction was a big violation of that act that was passed by the Illinois state. So something like that raises serious trust issues. Individuals had no knowledge of being monitored or being recorded, and they had no control or consent over their biometric data. Things like that highlight the need for clear disclosure, informed consent, and robust privacy protections. Another use case that we prepared for you is ChatGPT and misinformation. An example of that is Philadelphia's sheriff campaign using AI-generated news, which basically was misinformation. So what happened was that we are actually based in Philadelphia, so it actually hits close to home. There were over 30 positive news stories about Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal, created using ChatGPT, and contained errors and couldn't be verified by local archives. So you can check out the actual news and get more information about what happened. But things like that, it could be, it doesn't necessarily need to be kind of considered as an evil act, because right now a lot of people use ChatGPT as a search engine. So they may just go ask ChatGPT to tell us some good news about Philadelphia sheriff like Rochelle Bilal. And because we didn't prompt ChatGPT properly that these information should come from actual credible sources, ChatGPT is just hallucinating, just making up stories related to the sheriff. So it's very important to understand how to prompt these AI models. And it's also very important that whenever anything is generated by the AI models, it has to be verified by a human. We cannot just take the output of an AI system and put it out there to the public or give it to our customers without verifying it first. Another example of violation of people's rights using AI is a report by Amnesty, which calls for a ban on biased predictive policing in the UK. So what happened is that we're quoting a report by Amnesty International in 2025, which is called Automated Racism. It argues that predictive policing tools in the UK institutionalize racial bias. So basically, these systems were used to predict which citizens should be stopped and be searched, like either search their vehicles or like search their belongings. And it became clear that this AI system, was disproportionately targeting Black communities. So Amnesty advocates for banning such systems, which absent real evidence, which don't have real evidence of fairness. So what we can learn from examples like that is that trust erodes, especially like when we are dealing with communities. When things like that happens to certain communities, just overall and general trust toward AI erodes because of these kind of decision makings that lack fairness, transparency, and accountability, especially when it's in such a high stakes context like public safety. And the last use case that we have for you is using AI in hiring process. So this may be a little unexpected, but also we can see like what are the harms of not having a properly balanced data set. So in the fourth use case, we are talking about a study that finds out AI hiring tools inadvertently favored Black and female candidates. So this came out in June of 2025, and it revealed that certain leading AI hiring tools like ChatGPT 4o or Claude for Sonnet or Gemini 2.5 Flash, so they were tools that use these AI models to make their decision making for hiring people. So it turned out that these models, who were apparently trained to fight bias against Black and female candidates, but they actually turned out to be favoring them more, and now they're still being biased against white candidates and male candidates. So again, it really points out to the importance of having a very well-balanced data set for training these kind of AI systems. All right. So now I want you to take a step back. We can like take 30 seconds and think about this question that is an introduction to the next chapter that we want to cover. So we've seen 4 real world use cases. I want you to think which one of these concerns do you think has the biggest real world impact? So what we went over was using people's biometric data, using ChatGPT or any kind of AI model for spreading misinformation. The third one was using AI decision-making systems for policing and public safety. And the fourth one was using AI still in decision-making, but in hiring processes. So if you don't get any questions in our chat, we can move on to the next section. All right. So I'm going to have a sip of my tea and we'll move on.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Reza. And
no, we still have, yeah, there's the next part of the presentation. All right.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Manish. Okay, so in the next part, I want to talk about the book that we recently published. So you can see the names of my co-authors. All of them, every single one of them have a lot more experience than I do. When I was writing this book, I was just out of my PhD program, and I had the honor and opportunity to be one of the co-authors of this book, focusing on the impact of AI for different communities and cultures. I'm going to talk about the book itself a little bit, and then I move on to my own chapter, which was discussing part of my PhD work, the framework that I came up using, like all the studies that I've done and all the research papers that I reviewed, kind of like put together a framework for building trust adaptive AI agents. So with all of these concerning use cases that we covered, the question really gets to the heart of why building trustworthy AI matters. Because we want to build AI systems that avoid that kind of problems. So when we think about the real world impacts of AI, and these impacts can be either negative or positive. So the impacts can go both ways. One area that often gets overlooked is its role in shaping culture and community. And that's exactly what inspired us to write this book, AI for Community, Preserving Culture and Tradition. Together with my co-authors, we wanted to ask, how can AI help us not only innovate, but also preserve the very traditions and stories that define who we are? We wrote this book to explore this question by looking at how AI can safeguard endangered languages, capture oral histories, create living digital archives of cultural practices, and have a framework of building trustworthy and trust adaptive AI systems. For me, it's about making sure that we move forward with the technology. I'm not against AI. I think it can be a tool for good. I think we can drive a lot of good out of these new age of generative AI. But we also don't want to leave our heritage behind. We don't want to standardize everything. We don't want to delete communities and cultures. So now let's talk about my chapter. Specifically, in my chapter, I'm focusing on trust in general. So before jumping into how to build trustworthy AI agents, I want to give you a little bit of background about what trust is and what types of trust we have. Trust is this like very general concept, and in the next couple of slides, I'm going to break it down into different types of trust. But first, let's understand how we build trust and like what is trust related to. So a very academic and general definition of trust is the willingness to be vulnerable because we believe that another person, or like in the case of AI, an AI agent, will act in our best interest. Basically, whenever we say we trust someone, we trust something, it means that we are okay, we are willing to be vulnerable, to lose something if they fail us. So in human communities, because if you want to understand how trust works with artificial intelligence, first we need to understand how trust works with humans. So in human communities, trust develops through three main channels. One is competence, the other is benevolence, and the third is integrity. We trust people who are skilled. So for example, if one of our appliances, for example, our washer is broken, we trust the handyman because we know that they have the skills to fix it. Another way that we can trust someone is benevolence. We trust people who we know care about us. So for example, maybe we have a dad or a grandparent who has all the good intentions. They may not be very competent in fixing the washer for us, but just because we know they have our best interest in their heart, we let them try to fix the washer. Excuse me. And the other is having integrity. So we trust people who stay true to their values. For that one, I have an example with like taking a bus. Um, like taking the bus, especially in the US, probably is not the easiest or the most convenient experience to get from place A to B. So like it's not about like how good the experience is. Also, it's not about benevolence. Like the bus driver or the operating company that runs the buses, they don't necessarily have our best interests at heart. Like they are interested in more things like their benefits and like the contracts that they have with the city. But the way that we can trust the bus to show up at a certain time and take us from place A to place B is integrity. We know that like, throughout the many years before, this route had many buses who were coming on a more or less fixed schedule. And if you stay in that station, if you wait in that station long enough, there will be a bus that will pick us up. So I used some simple examples to give us an idea of what are the different ways that we decide whether we trust someone or something or not. When we are specifically talking about AI, we need to understand that trust takes on a new meaning when we are talking about AI. It's no longer about another person's intention, it's about whether a system's actions will align with our goals. So this is in general, it applies generally to any kind of automation. But now with AI specifically, it became like much more important because the type of automation that happens, it can also interact with us. It can talk to us. It can even like make videos or images for us. So it just the interaction becomes more human. So it's very important to understand how this automation is different in different contexts. And with any kind of automation, we know that there is going to be uncertainty in the environment or in the data that we are using. So now that raises some new questions. When we are talking about AI, can we trust the algorithm to represent me fairly? Will it respect the cultural values that we care about? Or does this AI system reinforce integrity and benevolence, or does it strip those away from us? So this shift is important because the trust is not just a technical issue, it also becomes cultural, especially for communities. And I'm specifically talking about minority communities. Those traditions and heritage are at risk. Trusting AI in that case means that they believe it won't erase or distort their stories, but instead help preserve them. So when we talk about AI for community, we are really talking about designing systems that can earn trust the same way humans do. And we do that by showing competence, by acting with care, and by holding onto the integrity, by being accountable, even when things are uncertain or even when mistakes or problems occur. So here I want to briefly go over different types of trust. Now we saw how we build trust, but we also need to understand the different types of trust because um, for some people or some things, under a certain context, we may trust them, but under some other context, we may not. For example, we may trust a pilot with our lives in an airplane, but we probably wouldn't trust them with our lives if they were to do a surgery on us because they don't have the skills for that. So now I want to break down the four main types of trust that we can find in studies of trust for automation. So the first one is functional trust. This is the most basic level. Does the AI system actually work? Is it reliable, consistent, and safe? If the answer to those questions is yes, then we are very likely to be able to trust that AI system. An example of that, like think about your car. If you trust that if you go into your car and turn the key, it will start and you can drive it, then you know that this is a reliable car and you can pick it for your commute. The same way, people need to trust AI to deliver results without breaking down. Another type of trust is cognitive trust. So here, the trust is about understanding. If we understand a system, an algorithm, then we are much more likely to trust it. For people who have some experience with computer science, let's say you wrote a sorting algorithm. It's very simple, it's very easy to understand, and if you've written it yourself and you tested it, then you are sure, you trust that this algorithm is going to sort numbers properly. The same thing goes with AI algorithms, although they are way more complicated than a sorting algorithm. But if we can have a good understanding of how they work, then we are more likely to be able to trust them. Some of the questions that we want to ask is that, do we know the system? Do we know how the system works, at least at a high level? Can we make sense of its decisions? So basically, cognitive trust is tied to transparency, explainability, and giving users enough insight so they don't feel like the AI is a black box. The third type of trust is adaptive trust. So this type of trust is a type of trust that can adapt based on the environment and based on the previous interactions with users. So this is about whether the AI can adjust responsibly over time. Especially when we're talking about communities and cultures and environments, we know that this is a very dynamic and alive thing. Like communities, cultures, languages, they're changing all the time. So by these changing environments, can the system also adapt itself so it can still stay relevant and trustworthy to the new generations that are coming? And the last one is affective trust. So this is more on the emotional side. And especially, again, because the new wave of AI technology is conversational and we can actually make a connection. People feel connections with these AI systems. They can hold conversations with them. They can even show frustration or happiness and satisfaction with them. So this emotional part of it also comes to play. So we really need to also take that into account and ask questions like, do people feel comfortable, respected, and safe when they are interacting with the AI? I kind of want to use that airplane example again. So let's say we have a pilot that is very rude, and although they can fly the plane very well, but they're not really treating the passengers properly. That probably makes a lot of people very uncomfortable being in that airplane. So it's not just about competence and all of the other factors. Also, how we feel about the agent matters a lot. So these were the 4 different types of trust that we can break it down, especially when we are talking about automation. So now that we went over that, I want to very briefly go over the framework that I came up with during my PhD for building trust adaptive AI agents. So I call them the 4 pillars of trust adaptive agents. So these pillars are fighting bias, building trust, being user-oriented, and making the system adaptive. So let's go over each of them separately. So for bias, we already talked about it. We know that AI systems can reflect and sometimes even amplify the existing inequalities in the data. So especially for communities whose voices have historically been marginalized, this bias can be even amplified way more, especially because of the amount of content that can be generated using these AI systems. So fighting bias means that we want to make sure that our datasets, algorithms, and outcomes are inclusive and representative. The second one is building trust. So we talked about all of these trust, and we were talking about like having a trust adaptive AI agent, but we really need to make it clear what do we mean by building trust. It is related to the type of trust that we talked about. So as we just discussed, this is the foundation of any kind of relationship, including our relationship with technology. So any kind of AI system that we create or we make must be transparent, accountable, and aligned with human values so that people feel confident relying on that system. The third pillar is being user-oriented. So a lot of times AI is designed from the top down. So there are a bunch of engineers, they want to build something, they build it, and then they make it available to the public and people start using it. But it's very important to really understand our users and see what they want. So being user oriented means we need to engage with communities, especially minorities. We need to engage with them directly, listening to their stories, and design AI tools that reflect their priorities, not just the priorities of developers or corporations. I just want to add something here. We see with AI a lot of standardization happens because they want to be like politically correct, and they don't want to offend people, and they don't want the AI system to generate something that is out of control. But that can be very damaging because this standardization means that a lot of the variety in cultures, in languages are going to be deleted if we keep just building AI systems this way. And the last pillar is making it adaptive. So as we also discussed, culture, language, traditions are dynamic. They evolve over time and should be able to adapt responsibly and learn in ways that respect cultural context rather than erasing or standardizing it. So with these four pillars, we can build a house. We call it a framework for building trust adaptive agents to fight bias, build trust, center the user, and keep the system adaptive. This is how AI can move from being just a tool of innovation, to a partner in preserving culture and strengthening the community. So now I want to take a step back again. I have a question for you. After that, I have like a very short overview of some use cases, and we can call it a night. So we talked about the different types of AI trust and the four pillars that guide responsible AI design. And now I want to bring this closer to your own experience. So think for a moment about your own life, about the decisions that matter most to you. And if you were to have an AI system help you make that decision, in that case, what would make you trust an AI system with an important decision in your life? So take a few seconds and reflect on that. Let's think about different things. Is it the transparency of the system? Is it the reliability, for example, like how reliable other people find it? Or is it like knowing that it aligns to like certain values that are really important to you, or something else? I would like to hear from you. I am looking at the chats. If you have any ideas, I would be glad to see that. If not, I will move to the next slide. I think there's a problem with my light. Let me try turning. All right, so we don't have any questions. I can move on. Okay, now that we've discussed trust and the four pillars, let's see how these ideas play out in the real world. This slide highlights the ethics in practice. And we want to provide some concrete examples of AI being applied responsibly. So there are some examples here. We also cover some others in our future blog posts. So make sure that you follow our website and check out our social media. But one example that I want to bring is a work that I was also involved in. So in 2022 and 23, I was a founding AI scientist of an AI startup called Tulip AI. And we were working on Meta's AudioCraft. It is a text to sound effect model. It's actually like it was part of a bigger model, which is like text to sound. It would even generate music. The one that we focused was a model for creating sound effects, like walking on gravel or like being in a market in India, things like that. So you could just give it a prompt and it would generate a sound effect based on the prompt that we gave it. So this project explored how generative AI can be used to create audio content in ways that are ethical, culturally sensitive, and community oriented. So basically, we had this open source model, and our goal was to fine tune it so that it is culturally aware. So, as I said, for example, if you say um, the sound of walking in a market in India, it doesn't just generate like some random noise of like people talking or people walking. It actually sounds something genuine, like if you actually went to that market and recorded some audio from there. So instead of just generating sound for commercial purposes, the project wanted to make sure that AI respects cultural heritage and follows ethical practices. So beyond this use case, ethical AI in practice involves designing AI that safeguards community values, creates systems that are transparent and accountable, and also we want to use AI to enhance culture rather than exploiting it or standardizing it. So by looking at these examples, we can see that AI isn't inherently good or bad. It's not about the tool. It's really about how we use it. Its impact depends on how thoughtfully it is designed and applied. Both of them are important. It's very important that how we build the AI system, and it's also extremely important that how we use that AI system. So this is exactly the approach that we advocate in our book. Also, in addition to the chapters that the six of us have in the book, we also have 6 different interviews with experts in the field. So if you're interested, I really encourage you to check out the book. I think you found a lot of good insights in the book. All right, with that, I'm still looking at the chats. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer that. I also, at the end, I want to thank everybody at the lab again. My co-op students from for spring and summer have been amazing. They helped us build the lab from scratch. Everything you see in our website, on our social media, we didn't have anything 6 months ago, but now we have like a very good platform with a lot of educational and good content, both blog posts and YouTube videos. And hopefully we will keep building more educational and useful content for the community. Thank you very much. And I hand it over to Manish.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Raza. And thank you to all our speakers and participants for making this session so encouraging and thought-provoking. And as we have seen today, that AI presents not only incredible opportunities, but also serious ethical questions and accountability. And is it the heart of it all? At AI Atelier, we believe that these discussions are essential to shaping up the future of the responsible AI. And before we wrap up, I'll have a final few notes to cover it. So we'll be sharing the recording of today's session along with a short survey. So please do take a moment to fill it out, and your feedback will really help us to shape our futures, shape our future in the webinars to come. And also, to stay updated on all our projects and the upcoming events, you can follow us on the social channels like the YouTube, LinkedIn, and our website as well. And finally, a big thank you to each one of you for joining us today. We hope you have had the session very valuable and that you will continue to engage with the AI Atlier's work. And with this, we conclude today's webinar. I'm your host Manish, and on behalf of all our entire AI Atelier team, We wish you a wonderful day ahead and thank you so much.